Ladies and gentlemen, happy Friday. Welcome back to the show. Good to catch up with you again, one on one, just to mix things up a little bit. All guests were too cool for me this week, and so I had a good one planned for you. And I got a last minute notice to say that the guests can't come on the podcast, and I wrote back and said, "Hey, we're going to reschedule," and there was no response. And so it made me wonder. I don't know how often this happens on the Joe Rogan podcast, but I feel as though maybe maybe they got a better offer is all I can think. And can you blame them? I don't know. I guess it depends what the offer is. Things are going good here though. I'm always amazed at how fast weeks go now though. That's what trips me out. I 4 weeks ago I was at a trivia night and a lady said to me, she goes, "I can't believe we're here again." And that's how I feel every day. Every day I get to 3:00 and I go, how did that happen? I don't know if it's an age thing or if it's a parent thing. I think it must be age, because I remember being a kid and I remember being 5 and mate, I just felt like I was 5 forever. Now I'm 38 and people are saying, "You're pretty much 40. And I go, well, not really. Like I'm 40 when my 4-year-old is 7. So I've got a little bit of time. I feel like people take you more seriously. I thought that light back there does that look blue or purple to you if you're watching? I thought I had it set to blue and it's thrown me off now because I can see it in the camera. Man, we went, I live in a little town called Point Lonsdale. And Point Lonsdale, it's, how do you explain it? So Port Phillip Bay, if you get a map up, the entrance into Port Phillip Bay is where all your big ships and stuff come into Melbourne. If you're on a ship coming into the bay, on the left-hand side, you've got Point Lonsdale. On the right-hand side, you've got Point Nepean. I'm at Point Lonsdale, just where the lighthouse is there. And when the tide's back, it's unbelievable because we have all these rock pools, but we also, I've just found out we have this crazy cave system going on, which is terrifying because my stupid brother-in-law is over from America. I love him, but he just does my head in because he's so brave and such a man, and my kids love it, and I always get dragged into his dumb antics. And the other day, we were down at the beach, and there was a tiny little, it was like I would have seen it, it's like a little doorway to hell is what it looks like. It's a tiny little hole that just leads straight under cliffs, essentially. And he goes, "Hey, Tyson, let's go in." And I said, how about you just go in, you dickhead? How about you just go in by yourself and don't try and get me involved in your stupid activities? Because I'm so happy just standing in these rock pools with blue-ringed octopus. They saw one of those too. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But before you knew it, my boy Charlie, 4, my other boy Ollie, 2, they're like, "Dad, come into this hole to hell." It's fine. There's something about a 4-year-old offering you encouragement that, I don't know, it immediately cracks any fear that you have, because you can't be outdone by a 4-year-old. Especially my brother-in-law, Sammy, he's 32. He's talking smack, and both of my boys are talking smack. And so you get through this tiny little hole, and yeah, sure, it opens up a bit, but the whole time we're in there, I'm just like, this could fall at any second. And I don't know, like my mind starts playing tricks on me, like how bad would it be to get stuck in this hole? Like, and you realize how vulnerable you are. And my kids are 4 and 2, so they've got no idea about the danger of the situation. And my brother's 32, but always just up for a good time. So yeah, what do you say? So I've been sucker punched into that. There is a weird adrenaline rush that comes with it, which is nice, but you can only enjoy that adrenaline rush once you get out. Like upon reflection, you can get out and you go, "Hey, that was fun, hey." But it's like when you're on a turbulent flight. At the moment, it's terrifying. If you're like me, you're crying, you're saying your prayers, and then the plane lands and you go, "That was fun. How good was that?" It didn't help because I'd been watching this guy called, I think it's Magnus Orson. He's a YouTuber, and he just does these crazy challenges. And he's got some good videos as well. But the one I really like, it's called like surviving 12 hours or 4 hours in Hellhole, which I think is in San Francisco, and it's like a network of caves. And yeah, it's aptly named. It is a little hellhole. You're crawling down under the earth, into the rocks, into the, it's unknown to you, but it's known to a number of other, they're not climbers, are they? Cave climbers or whatever. Anyway, so I'd been watching that, and I was watching that going, this looks like the worst thing ever. And my boys agreed with me. I showed them, and they're like, yeah, Dad, this is crazy. Never do that. I would never do that. And then they get one opportunity, and they go, hey, here's the entrance to a hellhole. And they go, oh, Uncle Sammy, this is awesome. My dad's a pussy. And I've got to go, no, hey, we talked about this last week. And remember, it's not that I'm a pussy. It's just that we're being careful. And Uncle Sammy's there going, no, it does mean he's a pussy. And my boy's like, yeah, Dad. Like, oh, yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure 4-year-olds should know that word. But that's what that was. It's been a while. So my brother-in-law and his wife and family, they're over from the States. Sammy's Aussie. She's American. Whenever you say to an Aussie over the age of 60 that you go into the States, they say, be careful. And you go, what of? And they say guns. Because like all that America's known for in Australia is their gun laws. And the reverse is true for that for any Americans coming to Australia. They're told, like, all right, we're going to Australia, and then all the parents over 60 say, careful of sharks, careful of brown snakes, careful of blue-ringed octopus, just be careful. And I've never seen any of those things in my whole life. I've seen a brown snake, actually. I've seen those a couple of times, but only recently, till 2 years ago, I hadn't seen one. Anyway, we were down in Gippsland at like a little pond, which was near my mum's house, and we were just throwing bread to ducks, or we were playing. So there was a whole heap of rocks just around the water, lots of ducks there. I had Ollie, who's too unstable on the rocks, shouldn't have been there. Had my other boy, 4. Had another both of my nieces, also the same age as my kids, 2 and 4, on the water. All of a sudden, so we're standing on these rocks. There's a little pond here, and then there's all these lily pads just on the other side of the water. It was beautiful, like a still little pool of water just here in front of us. Kids throwing stones or whatever. All of a sudden, a brown snake just jumps out of these lily pads. And I've never seen. I just assumed it was like a sea snake because I'd never seen them swim like that. Anyway, it came targeting one of the kids, and then I was like 15 meters away, so I could do nothing. And then Sammy went and picked up one of his kids, and then the stupid snake like re-navigated and started to go on towards my kid. And bloody Sammy's there picking up his kids, and I'm going, mate, do you reckon, like, could you just go get my kid? And he's going, oh, my hands are full, And this snake's just gone ham, like it's just gone as hard as it could. And anyway, long story short was he managed to, had nothing to do with me being terrified of a brown snake, I'll have you know. It was just anyway, Sammy saved the kid. And then, so she came, Crystal, her name is, she came to Point Lonsdale, pretty much where she's staying. She's in Ocean Grove, but she was at the Point Lonsdale rock pools, just taking some videos, looking at some shells. And then a blue-ringed octopus came out. Like, it was just swimming around, doing its thing. So she's 2 from 2. She's seen a brown snake. She's seen a blue-ringed octopus in the first week of her trip. I'd never seen either of these two things. And then, she found a coin from like 1789. An Austrian coin in one of the rock pools. I don't know when I tell you that whether that's really interesting or incredibly boring. I feel self-conscious presenting that news because for me it was so exciting, and I'm furious she hasn't offered to give me the coin yet. But yeah, 17, like it's wild. Hey, and a little Austrian coin. Either someone's playing a wild prank, or how did that get in that rock pool? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Kind of trips me out. Anyway, that was that. Man, I've had such a revelation lately. This is what I've realized lately. I reckon growing up, lefties were the coolest people in the world. I used to listen to like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and forever their music, it was always about like F the government and free speech and don't tell me what to do. And I would listen to that music and feel like a badass because these people sounded cool and they looked cool and their music was good and the message made sense. And then COVID hit a few years ago and all of these cool people were like, actually, no, like government can tell you what to do, because what I realized was everything that I said about you having the right to do what you want in small government and stuff, it was only right then, but now it's not right. And you go, man, how are the coolest people in the world from the 60s turned into the biggest losers in 2023 or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd play that music back in the day and you'd hope the car next to you heard it, because they were like, man, this guy gets it. Now, for people to think I'm an absolute badass now and listening just to some crazy meat, you got to go online and watch Charlie Kirk. I'm watching a bloke speak about the value of God and family and thinking, man, this is hardcore. Lefties used to be so cool. And now I'm watching, now the coolest people in my life are these nerdy guys in a suit saying, hey, you got to trust God and love your family. I'm like, man, controversial. Yeah, it kind of trips me out. I like the old lefties better. Do you remember when Neil Young got fired up because Joe Rogan had Robert Malone on his podcast? I'm sorry, I'm still talking about COVID. It's one of those things. I'm trying to let it go, but I just can't. I just can't do it. I love Australia. I love Australians as well. I love Australia. I love Australians. But that was an eye-opening moment for us. Until that point, I would have told you Australians are 100% the coolest people in the world. Because when we go overseas, we like to portray this image of, like, we're so relaxed, we're so tough, we're leaning to that Crocodile Dundee standard. We go, yeah, mate, nah, no worries. What? And then the government says, stay in your house, and we go, no worries. Absolutely whatever you say. It's the beauty of YouTube, I tell you, because you can... Don't you think it's wild that it wasn't that long ago? Like, I turned on Channel 9 News the other day just to see what it was like, because I haven't watched it for so long. Channel 9 News, if you're not in Australia, it's like, I guess it's one of it's at least a mainstream news channel. Do you know what I mean? And it was so wild. You have 30 seconds to talk. In that 30 seconds to talk, there's 4 news stories. He came on and he was talking about, I was selective with the one that I chose just because if I was going to watch Channel 9, I wanted to get a real bang for my buck, right? But it was, what was it? He was talking about Trump. He was talking about the State of the Union address. He was talking about Trump and his unelected right-hand man, Elon Musk. And he's given Trump shit about... Here's what's so interesting. I'll be the first to tell you, I've got no idea about, like, the history between Russia and Ukraine. I mean, I've been learning about it a little bit because I have no idea. But it's amazing how many people watch a Channel 9 news snippet and go, well, this is what Trump should be doing. And I'm like, you work a full-time job. When you're not there, you're hanging out with your kids. When you're not there, you're shopping. When you're not there, you're cooking. Like, what? How much do you really know about the conflict between Ukraine and Russia? Do you know? Yeah. We've all got our favorite people to listen to, though. Like, I've got to be careful that I don't get caught. That's why I like Candace Owens, because Candace Owens throws curveballs in there about what you should, not what you shouldn't believe. She'll throw curveballs at, say you call yourself a conservative. I think she's pretty much, well, she's always labeled a far-right conservative conspiracy theorist who just happens to get, like, nearly everything she says right. But it's just so funny watching someone like that who's labeled like a far-right conspiracy theorist all of a sudden come out and be like, oh, no, but I agree with the left completely on this, or to a large degree on this. And you go, hang on a second, I didn't know those two things were allowed to happen. I thought you had to be all or nothing. But she keeps you guessing. And I reckon there's not enough of that these days. That's one skill I'm trying to improve at the moment. Like I'm allowed to like both of my kids at the same time. I don't have to just choose to put all my love on one, even though the other one's being really naughty. Do you know? That's how I feel. And it's interesting as well, because I reckon it depends on sort of where you get your news from, which dictates the way you see situations. If you want to, man, I absolutely love going on Twitter at the moment, just because I feel as though it's almost a pushback in me to the last few years. Like, remember when, before Elon took over, it was like you went on there, it was like visiting LA, but online. You just knew you were going to hear all these Biden fans and bots, and then just angry conservatives going, oh, this is so rigged. I can't believe you kicked the president of the United States off here because you disagreed with what he said. But now you go on and it's like, it's the opposite. It's just, if you find a liberal on there who hasn't deleted their accounts, it must just be a different world. It must be like, I reckon, if you lived in a particular area, right? Say if you're in LA and all of a sudden the Chinese just took over, and you just catch yourself, you're like, oh, I guess I'm just living with these Chinese people now. These guys are the new bosses. That's how I feel about liberals on Twitter at the moment. They just go, all right, well, I kind of like it here. It's a beautiful setting. Yeah, sure, the leadership's a little bit different. I'm not allowed to say the things well, you are allowed to say it, but it just doesn't get as many likes, I guess. And then Facebook's the exact opposite, which is funny because Zuckerberg, since Trump got elected, he's come out as what do they call him? He looks like a fuck boy now. A little bit. He's grown out his hair. He's looking fit and healthy. He's got a little tan. He's got a cool necklace. I actually really like his necklace. It looks good. People are saying how good looking he is now. He's not that good looking. I think they just appreciate the change. But it's funny because he's come out on Rogan talking about how he hasn't directly said that he's a Trump fan, but you kind of get that vibe. Like he's loosening up a lot of what's allowed on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. But still, for whatever reason, I'll scroll through Facebook and it's either my uncles and aunties or just the news articles that are shared there. It's like, oh, this is straight out of mainstream news. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I think time's the factor. I think there's a big part to do with time. Joe Rogan's always said it. He said he likes the fact that guests on his podcast can have 3 hours. Man, I saw, it was so funny the other day. See, Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan's podcast again. A 3.5 hour podcast. This guy's running Twitter. He's running Tesla. He's running Doge. I don't know what other businesses he's a part of, but like I didn't even have 3 hours to sit down and watch the interview. How does he have? I don't understand how he has the time. How does Elon Musk have 3.5 hours to sit down and talk smack with Rogan, and I don't have? I'm not the richest man in the world running 4 or 5 companies. I either have terrible time management systems or this guy's actually a genius. It's so humbling. Every time I see him on there for another 3-hour interview, I'm like yelling at the like, how do you do this? Who is running the show? There's certain people that you look at and you go, okay, you're very efficient with what you do. He's one of them. I look at him and I go, man, this is efficient. Because you have people like Gary Vee. Do you remember Gary Vee back in the day? And he's like, no, you've got to be up at all hours and respond to all notifications and just do everything all at once, all the time. And you go, but I can't. And he goes, but you have to. And you go, but I literally can't. And he goes, well, you're not committed. And then you have other people who are like, no, set yourself up a lifestyle so like you can work hard and play hard. And then you have people like Elon who he just seems to work hard and play. He's got 15 kids. I didn't know you had 15 kids. It's amazing how much money speaks. Hey, you can talk about looks and charisma all you want. Like I read that book, The Game, when I was like 18. I was just trying to figure it out. I remember because the lady at the bookstore said to me, "Don't buy this book." And I said, "No, I need help." And she goes, "This is the wrong book to buy." And I said, "No, please, like I really need this." And all like it just turns out you can be an average looking bloke, which I guess Elon is, with a little bit of autism, even a lot of autism, maybe I don't know, maybe not the most, but a fair bit. And he's got 15 kids. I'm not celebrating the fact he's got 15 kids. I'm just saying he's getting more action than a lot of good-looking men that I know. I think it's because so many of the good-looking men, everyone's becoming an Orthodox Christian. Have you guys noticed this? What's going on in the Orthodox Christian world? I was trying to explain to my mum the other day just how many people have become Orthodox Christians. My sister's one, and I'm so proud of her. She sends me great articles. I'm trying to read about it and learn about it. And It's funny. It's like you go through this moment of just like rainbow pride and trans love and like just reading porn to kids in primary school. And then you get to the next generation. They go, actually, I remember when my grade two teacher read porn to me, it didn't feel right. So now I think I'm actually just going to go back to an old school tradition, which seems to have worked for generations and civilizations all around the world. Like some remarkable stuff has come out of this Christianity. In fact, I would argue, they would say that some of the most remarkable stuff has come out of Christianity as opposed to reading a child in grade two porn. I think that's a big part of it. I always remember uh, Jocko Willink said, he's like, yeah, society's gone crazy at the moment, but eventually the parents are going to get home. You know, when you have a party in year 12, like that party can go for a certain amount of time, but like when the parents get home, you're going to have to clean up. That's what Jesse bought me a shirt for Christmas, and it's just a photo of Trump. I wish I had it. I should have brought it in here to show you. I didn't know I was going to be telling you about it, in fairness, though. It's just like a comic book picture of Trump on a shirt with the White House behind him, and below it just says "Daddy's home," which I think's cool. Anyway, Daddy's home now. Yeah, I sometimes think I've got a hard job. You have to have a thick skin to be a leader, I reckon, don't you? Because I'll read my YouTube comments somewhere, and I go, "What, you don't like the backwards hat?" Which I haven't addressed actually. Sometimes when I got a backwards hat on, it's just because the way my hair was sitting was not acceptable, and so I just put the backwards hat on. But I was at a comedy gig a while ago, and the MC introduced me. He goes, "Mate, you're a dad of two. You're 37 years old with a backwards hat. Like, what the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "Hang on, do you know when you're like late to a message about?" There's certain styles apparently which are unacceptable. I've got to try and figure it out because some people are very fashionable with the way they do their clothing. Like they wear, I would look at them and I'm like, oh man, that's so dorky. That's from the 90s. And then they go, no, this is so popular right now. I'm actually very, like baggy. I see baggy jeans again. I go, are you serious? We've established this as bad. The Holocaust was bad. Baggy jeans is bad. Let's stop making the same mistakes. And yet here we are. Here we are wearing baggy jeans again, which is, you know, it makes you think Anne Frank's great, I was going to say grandkids, but that's a bit inconsiderate, isn't it? It's a slip of the tongue. But what I was trying to say is baggy jeans is, my point doesn't stand, I've just realised, because the Holocaust came well before baggy jeans, as far as I'm aware. Anyway. We've got the Aussie election coming up soon. The Aussie election's coming up in May, I believe, and I could not care less about it. I don't know how other Australians feel, but the Australian election is like, I don't know, you can watch the NBA or the WNBA, and honestly, both of those are bad choices because I think they've just both become sort of dominated by woke culture. But what I was trying to say, here's a better one for you. You can watch UFC or you can watch Jake Paul in a boxing fight. And despite how good he is at marketing, I saw the Mike Tyson fight. It was maybe the most boring fight of all time. I understand the money was the thing. Like you want to get the money out of it. And he was very successful there. But I got interested in UFC because of Conor McGregor, and I got interested in American politics because of Donald Trump. What I'm trying to say is I wish we had like a little bit more swagger in the world of Australian politics because I want to hear Peter Dutton come out and just talk absolute shit about Anthony Albanese. And there's so much you can talk about. But I feel like these two they're too respectful to each other. That's what I don't like. Because whenever there's too much blatant respect, you know there's some secrets behind the door. Like, Albanese surely goes home to his wife and is like, I can't believe I had to do another welcome to country or acknowledgement of country. Just let me talk to my people. But the guy's still there with his massive paycheck and his smoke stick, and he's welcoming, for the third time that day, a whole heap of politicians to the country, and they've got to sit there and play along. And it's so refreshing to see just that kind of behaviour get called out. Like, what is going on in Australian politics at the moment? Give us something interesting. Give us something to play with. Give us something to get excited about. Say something, Peter Dutton, which is going to make me think that it could be a, I don't know, I was going to say a fun next few years, but that's not what you're looking for, is it? You kind of do want fun. I read Bill Bryson's book years ago called Down Under, and he was talking about how, what was his name? Our Prime Minister who drowned over at Point Nepean. Oh, I'm sorry to all you Australian history nerds, but no one cares about Australian politics, even Australians, I don't think. I cared about it a few years ago when Dan Andrews kept saying, no, you have to stay in your house because the science isn't established, but we're pretending it is. I remember that. But apart from that, now things have calmed down a little bit. I don't know what they're sliding through Parliament at the moment. They could be doing anything. I'm paying such little attention because American politics is so much more exciting. Do you guys feel that way? I don't know. Hey, let me give you a good news story. I saw this today. I thought it was funny. I feel like there's so much focus on Hinge. I don't know if Tinder's still going on. Look at this. This is on news.com. Passenger reveals there was a note left by pilot while waiting at airport. I don't know how to show you this. There's an effortless swimming ad for me. Effortless swimming. That's my mate's company. He's targeting me well. I don't want to swim, Brent. A woman has divided the internet over a note she received while at an airport in the US waiting to board her flight. Honestly, she looks like my wife. Sometimes I'll introduce my wife to some people, and like when she's dressed up, I get so arrogant because I'm like, mate, I bet you didn't think I could do this. What does it say? The note says, I've seen the whole world, and you are the most beautiful woman in it. She's not. She's very pretty. She'd be in the top 10. The note, which was written on a napkin and placed in front of Mrs. Bora, simply said, yeah, I've seen the whole world. Oh, it was a video on TikTok, 7.2 million views. Do you know, I got a mate, Andy. He got on a flight years ago, a Jetstar flight, and he got a glimpse of the female captain. And he heard an announcement over the speaker saying, hey, you're joined by Captain Jamie or whatever. And he did some quick research. And if you know Andy, this is so him. Found out her Facebook or Messenger account or whatever and sent her a message saying, hey, it was a bumpy flight. Everything all right? And she wrote back, haha, like, how'd you find me? Which, if it goes the wrong way, could be very creepy. But it went the right way, and now they've got 2 kids. They've been married for maybe 10 years. Strong marriage, good people. Go Andy. I love those stories. Well done to that pilot. What was the actual outcome of this? Let a girl receive a no strings attached compliment in peace. But I think agree. Okay, so just going through the debate about, man, how is that even a debate? I've seen some of the messages you freaks send on Tinder, and I mean that's maybe one of the nicest. That's one of the nicest ways you could kickstart a conversation with a little pretty lady, Miss Bora. Anyway. Oh, man, I went to buy Melbourne comedy tickets the other day. You go to the Melbourne Comedy Festival website. How's this? When you go there, a big screen comes on, and here's what it says. I've just knocked over my light on set. I'll just put that there. It's an acknowledgement of country. Like, what's going on? I just want to buy comedy tickets. Do you know what I mean? Like, why am I doing an acknowledgement of country to go into your website is my question. I'm so sorry. It's absolute chaos here. I've messed up my light. I'm about to finish this podcast, though, so you don't really need to see my face anymore. Unless 50% of the comedy tickets are going towards Aboriginal people, I reckon you're virtue signalling. That's my thoughts. I don't know what you guys think about that. I think we're starting to see them diminish a little bit, but I met some Aboriginal people, and they're even like, hey, like, can you calm down with all that? It's sort of embarrassing now. I'm getting over it. That's the problem, though. Everyone always just refers to their Aboriginal friends that want the opposite to what the person they're arguing. My wife, I remember, during that yes-no vote, was speaking to a lady who was saying, hey, you're going to vote yes? And she's like, no, all my Aboriginal friends think it's bad. I'm like, sweetie, you don't have any. And then, like, this other chick's like, well, all my Aboriginal friends think it's good. I'm like, are we just making up Aboriginal friends to make our point? Like, can't we just let these Aboriginal people that we're speaking about speak on the issue, and we can stop pretending that we're all hanging out? Anyway, we voted no. Guys, I love you with all my heart. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you back here next week.